Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah share. We are holding in Mishnah Berurah Chelik Daled. I have to get used to saying that. As soon as you start working on the subject material, you realize it's Chelik Daled. But I have to get used to saying Chelik Daled. So we are holding in Mishnah Berurah Chelik Daled, and we will be learning today Emir Hashem Daf Kuf Tzadik Ches. Daf Kuf Tzadik Ches Amid Aleph. We pick up today on Kuf Tzadik Zayin Amid Beis. 3 lines off the bottom, last word on the line, Siman Shin Mem Hey Sif Yud. Our learning should be a schus for Achedek Beis Yisrael and the Sudan Batzaru Bashivia Haimdim Bei Bayom Bein Bayabasha Hamakim Yerachim Aleim V'Yitziyah Mitzar L'Rvacha Me'Afelu L'Oiro V'Shibah L'Geula Hashta Bagolo V'Zman Kariv and Amar Amein. Our learning should be a schus for Refuah Shalema for Esther Fradel Bas Chana Mashameir Ben Esther Fradel Yitzchak Ben Sion Ben Dusha Rivka Bashir Leah Chavadasa Bas Serel Yeshua Levi Ben Ahuva Malka Chana Gila Shifra Bas Ilana Udel. They should all have Refuah Shalema B'Soich Shar Choyle Yisrael. So without further ado, let's jump right into today's material. This is the type of material where we really have to follow the math. We need to get the klolim, the rules, down pat. Once we get these rules down pat, it's going to help us immeasurably as we work our way through Hilchas Erevin. Now I'm going to do something that I don't usually do, and that is we're not really picking up today from the beginning of Sif Yud because we already started Sif Yud. But I'm going to read again from the beginning of Sif Yud. I might not read the Mishnah Berurah inside that we already covered. Maybe I'll just point out the highlights. But I feel that it is important for the continuity of the shir, and again, like I said, to get the rules down pat, that we do it in a cohesive manner. Says the Mechaber Sif Yud. Kol davar shehu b'rishus harabim. So we have already discussed the requirements that make up a rishus harabim. In order for an area to be considered a rishus harabim, it has to have a minimum width of 16 amas. It cannot be walled in. It can't be roofed over. According to some Mandi Omrim, it has to be an area that serves 600,000 people. According to others, not. But we've already covered what it takes to make up a Rishus Harabim. Now the Mechaber is tackling another issue, and that is what happens if we're making our way down through Rishus Harabim and we encounter some sort of elevated item that is located in the Rishus Harabim. Now, when I say an elevated item, I don't mean that the ground of Rishus Harabim slopes upwards. We already dealt with slopes. Steep slopes that hit an elevation of 10. I'm not talking about that, right? The ground of Rishus Harabim is not perfectly level, but the ground is the ground. That's Rishus Harabim. What I'm talking about over here is something that is located in the Rishus Harabim. Maybe there's a big rock. A big rock is sitting in the middle of Rishus Harabim. Maybe there's a tree stump that is sitting in middle of Rishus Harabim. Maybe there's a man-made platform of some kind that is sitting in the middle of Rishus Harabim. But whatever it is that we're dealing with here, we're dealing with something located in the Rishus Harabim. And we're trying to understand what is the status of the surface of that item sitting in Rishus Harabim. And this could be very, very, very negeya, right? We're going to discuss, I'm going to try to discuss later on in the shir, what happens if you're walking outside on Shabbos and your hat blows off, your yarmulke blows off, and it lands on something that is in the Rishus Harabim. Now, your knee-jerk reaction is to go take it back. Well, hold it. Not so fast. If your hat fell off and it fell on the ground, okay, you're in the Rishus Harabim, your hat is in the Rishus Harabim, so you know what you have to do. You know that you can't pick up your hat and hold it and transport it Dalet Amos to Rishus Harabim. You know that that's a problem. But you want to bend down, pick up your hat, put your hat on? No problem. But what if your hat did not fall off and fall on the ground? What if your hat fell off and it fell on a car? What happens if your hat fell off and it fell on a bench? What happens if your hat fell off and it fell onto, I don't know, some kind of big flower pot or something that's in the Rishus Harabim? So you need to stop and take a breath, and you need to be able to look at the surface that your hat, your yarmulke, whatever it is, landed on, and you have to be able to say to yourself, okay, what is that? Where is my hat now located? Is my hat still in the Rishus Harabim? Or maybe my hat is now located on something which is a different Rishus. Maybe it landed on something which is still Rishus Harabim. Maybe it landed on something that's a Mokum P'tur. If so, I could take it, no problem. Maybe it landed on something that's a Carmelis. If it landed on something that's a Carmelis, I got a problem. If I'm in a Rishus Harabim and my hat is on a Carmelis, I can't transfer my hat from a Carmelis to a Rishus Harabim. Maybe it even landed on something that has a din of Rishus HaYachid. If it landed on something that has a din of Rishus HaYachid, now we're dealing with a Daraisa. If you're located in a bona fide Rishus HaYachid, and your hat landed on a surface that has a din of Rishus HaYachid, so then to take your hat from the Rishus HaYachid and bring it to you in the Rishus HaRabim would be Yisrei Daraisa. So this is the topic here of Sif Yud. When something is located in the Rishus HaRabim, and now we need to look at it and we need to assess what is the status of that davar that's in the Rishus Harabim, that item in the Rishus Harabim. What kind of Rishus is that? So let's bite into it. Says the Mechaber, Sif Yud. Kol davar shehu b'Rishus Harabim, anything that is located in the Rishus Harabim. So we're going to have several different categories. Category number 1, im eina gavaya shloisha tvachim. If this is something that's very low, it's something that's not 3 tvachim tall. Well, in that case, says the Mechaber, first of all, afilu imhem koitzim oitzaya, even if we're talking about something that the Rabbim avoids. If it's a pile of thorns, the Rabbim avoids it. They don't want to step on it. If it's a pile of tzaya, the Rabbim avoids it. They don't want to step on it. Even if it's something that the Rabbim avoids, she'ein Rabbim darsan aleim, the Rabbim doesn't want to walk on it, chashuvim kekarka, it is considered part of the karka of Rishus Harabim. It is bottled to the karka of Rishus Harabim, the heavy Rishus Harabim, and it remains Rishus Harabim. The Mishnah Berurah in Ois Katan Chav Ches, I'm not going to read it inside, the Mishnah Berurah in Ois Katan Chav Ches told us a very important thing. He says, we're talking about something that is less than 3 tefachim elevated off the ground. Says the Mishnah Berurah, if it's less than 3 tefachim elevated off the ground, it cannot be an independent Rishus. It is bottled to Rishus Harabim, and it remains Rishus Harabim. So that was category number 1. Something elevated in the Rishus Harabim, but it's elevated less than 3 tefachim, 11, 12 inches. It's elevated less than 3 tefachim off the less than 3 tefachim, so less than 11. So let's say it's 10 inches tall. It's elevated less than 3 tefachim off the surface of Rishus Harabim. It is bottled to the karka of Rishus Harabim. So your yarmulke fell on it, no problem. You're in Rishus Harabim. Your yarmulke is in Rishus Harabim, no problem. This is part and parcel of the Rishus Harabim. Okay, now we go to category number 2. Says the Mechaber, Vimu gavaya shloisha. But let's say it is 3 tefachim tall or more. Now, I want to pause here for a second. 3 tefachim or less, bottled to the karka, less than 3 tefachim, let's put it that way. Less than 3 tefachim, bottled to the karka of Rishus Harabim. It's Rishus Harabim. From 10 tefachim, if we're over 10 tefachim, we're already in Rishus HaYachid category. So, under 3 tefachim, bottled to the karka, it's Rishus Harabim. Over 10 tefachim, we're already dealing with shilas that maybe it's a Rishus HaYachid. Question is, between 3 and 10. Now, we're going to see that the Mechaber is going to create 2 categories within 3 to 10. There's going to be one category which is going to cover 3 to 9. Then there's going to be another category which is going to be either exactly 9 or maybe 9 to 10. But those are going to be 2 separate categories. There's going to be 3 to 9, and then there's going to be another category 9 to 10. Now, says the Mechaber, Imhu gavaya shloisha. If we're dealing with something which is 3 tefachim tall. Now, it's kedai to pause here for a second and look at Mishnah Berurah's Katan Chav Tes, and this one I want to read inside. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Imhu gavaya shloisha. So first of all, you have to understand, once we're 3 tefachim or above, says the Mishnah Berurah, Oz, ein Rabbim yechaylin lidrois alav mitzad gavoy. the tzibur, the rabbim, the public, are not going to walk on this thing that is 3 tfachim or more elevated off the surface of the Rishus HaRabim. Why? Because it's just not easy to step on. People generally don't pick up their feet that high to step on something and continue walking. They're going to avoid it. And therefore, says the Mishnah Berurah, nafka miklal Rishus HaRabim. When something is already 3 tfachim high, it cannot be considered part of the Rishus HaRabim anymore. Why? Because people aren't going to walk on it. So now we have something sitting here in the Rishus HaRabim that we could no longer classify as Rishus HaRabim because it's nafka miklal Rishus HaRabim. People don't use it the way they use Rishus HaRabim. Okay, but is it 10 tefachim tall? No, it's not 10 tefachim tall. It's 4 tefachim tall. It's 5 tefachim tall. So says the Mishnah Berurah, v'lechlal Rishus HaYachid loy ba ad goy v'asar tefachim. It's nafka miklal Rishus HaRabim. It's no longer a Rishus HaRabim, but it's also not a Rishus HaYachid because it's not tall enough to be a Rishus HaYachid. So the problem is, what is it? If it's not a Rishus HaRabim because the Rabbim can't use it, and it's not a Rishus HaYachid because it's not tall enough to be a Rishus HaYachid, so what is it? So says the Mishnah Berurah, "V'nostu alei chachamim shem karmelis shu rishus la'atzmai." It becomes its own independent rishus. Well, if it's going to become its own independent rishus, now we have to look at the width, the lateral measurements of the upper surface. If it's going to be daled al daled, so then it's going to be a karmelis. V'asal ha'itzi mimenu l'rishus ha'yachid v'l'rishus ha'rabim. If it's a karmelis, so then you can't put you can't take your yarmulke off it if it landed on it. You can't put something down on it because it's a karmelis. If it's less than daled al daled, it's going to be a makom p'tur. So let's read it again in the mechaber, starting from the bottom line in the middle kuf tzadik zayin and beis by the ois cut and chaf test for the mechaber. Ve'imhu gavaya shloisha. If this item sitting in the Rishus HaRabim is 3 tefachim tall, umi shloisha ad tisha. It's 3 to 9. Veloy tisha bechlal. Told you. He's making 2 categories here. 3 to 9 is one category. 9 to 10 is a different category. But if it's 3 tvachim tall, umishloish ad tisha, it's between 3 and 9 tvachim tall. Veloy tisha bechlal, but it's not 9. Imhu rachav arba al arba. So again, it's no longer Rishus HaRabim because it's over 3. It's not Rishus HaYachid, it's under 10. So what is it? Imu rachav al arba al arba. If it's dalit tvachim al dalit tvachim, so then it's a makom chashuv. So then heavy karmelis. Then the chachamim make it a karmelis. Vim einay rachav arba al arba. But if it's not dalit al dalit, it's not a makom chashuv. It's nafka miklal Rishus HaRabim because it's over 3. It's not a Rishus HaYachid because it's under 10. But we're not going to make it a karmelis because it's not a makom chashuv. We can't consider it to be an independent rishus. So what is it? Have a makom p'tur. It's a makom p'tur. What's a makom p'tur? A free-for-all. You can put something down on it. You can take something off it. It's a makom p'tur. Says the Mishnah Berurah's cut lamed. V'emeina rachav arba al arba. If it's not daled al daled, afilu im arka yoser me'arba tvachim. Even if it's very long, lo mitzarfino zeh l'rachba. We don't square it out. It can't be its own independent rishus unless it's daled al daled. So now we have covered the first 2 categories of something that is located in the Rishus HaRabim. If it is less than 3 tefachim tall, it's bottled to the Rishus HaRabim and it's a Rishus HaRabim. If it's more than 3 tefachim tall, it cannot be bottled to the Rishus HaRabim. People aren't going to use it. People aren't going to walk on it. It's not Rishus HaRabim. It's not 10 tefachim tall, so it's not Rishus HaYachid. So what is it? The way we decide what it is by looking at the lateral measurements of its surface. If it's daled al daled, so then it's nafka miklal Rishus HaRabim. It's not Rishus HaYachid. It's daled al daled, so it's a makom chashuv. It becomes a Rishus D'Rabbanan. It becomes a karmelis. If it's not daled al daled, it's not a makom chashuv. It's not a makom chashuv, it's a makom p'tur. Okay, now let's move along to category number 3. Category number 3, you need to understand this. Category number 3 is a carve-out. What do I mean that it's a carve-out? Really, the din of over 3 tefachim all the way to 10 tefachim should really be all the same din. Why? Because again, do the math. It's over 3, so it's not bottled to the Rishus HaRabim. It's under 10, so it's not a Rishus HaYochid. So what is it? Lateral measurements. Dalet al Dalet, Mokum Chashiv, Carmelis. Not Dalet al Dalet, not a Mokum Chashiv, Mokum Ptur. That rule should cover us all the way from 3 all the way to 10. So why are we talking about 9? Because the halacha of 9, now we're going to see also, it's the Machlekes, the Rambam, and the Rosh. The halacha of 9, or according to the Rosh, the halacha of 9 to 10, okay? So again, 2 shittas in the Rishonim here. Either this halacha is going to pertain only to exactly 9, or it pertains from 9 to 10. But that carve-out, that measurement represents a carve-out. Why? Because even though it should have the same halacha as 4 tvachim, 5 tvachim, 6 tvachim, 7 tvachim, 8 tvachim, right? As long as it's more than 3 and it's less than 10, it should all have the same halacha. 9 or 9 to 10 is different. Why? Because Chazal said, when you have a surface that is 9 tfachim tall in Rishus HaRabim, or according to the Rosh, anywhere from 9 to 10, it becomes something that is useful to the Bnei Rishus HaRabim. How is it useful to the Bnei Rishus HaRabim? Says Chazal, Rabim mikatfim olav. People use it to adjust their loads. Somebody is walking in the Rishus HaRabim with a heavy load, and sometimes the strap stops to slide off your shoulder. You have to reposition your packages. So when you have a surface in the Rishus HaRabim that's exactly 9 tfachim, or according to the Rosh, 9 to 10, you'll go over to it, you'll put your load down for a second, you'll re-shoulder it, you'll readjust it, and then you'll get it nice and secure on your back again, and you'll keep on going. So now it's a surface that the Rabbim uses. Remember what we said. The reason why over 3 tfachim is not bottled to the Rishus HaRabim is because people won't walk on it. So it's not used by the people in the Rishus HaRabim. So it's not Rishus HaRabim. But now 9, or 9 to 10, is used by the Bnei Rishus HaRabim. Rabbi Mekatfim alav. So now there's a carve-out. And the carve-out is, says the Mechaber, let's read it in the Mechaber. V'im hu gavaya tisha tvachim etzumtzamim. This is the first sheet, the sheet of the Rambam. If this elevated item or surface in the Rishus HaRabim is exactly 9 tfachim tall, very important that vav, Rabbim mekatvim alav, and the Rabbim factually does use it to readjust their loads. So there's 2 tanoim that we need here. A, it is exactly 9 tfachim tall. That is the usable height. And the Olam, in fact, uses it. V'Rabbim mekatvim alav, heavy Rishus HaRabim, it is a Rishus HaRabim, afilu eina rachav arba, even if it's not 4x4. So again, up to 3, bottled to the Rishus HaRabim. 3 to 9, it's not Rishus HaRabim, it's not Rishus HaYochid. What is it? Depends how big it is. If it's 4x4, Carmelis, Rishus D'Rabbanan. If it's not 4x4, Mokum Ptur. 9, unique din. 9 is usable to the public because Rabbi Mekatvim alav, and therefore, if the fact indeed is that Rabbi Mekatvim alav, guess what? It's Rishus HaRabim. Because even though it's over 3, it is used by the Rabbim. So it becomes part of Rishus HaRabim. Now we see here in the Mechaber, the second sheet of the Shittas HaRosh, v'yesh mi she'omer, there is a Shittas HaRosh that says, Tehu adin l'gavaya mitisha v'ad asara v'rabim mekatvim alav, heavy Rishus HaRabim afilu eina rachav arba. There is a Rosh. The Rosh says that this unique carve-out, again, really the halakha of 3 to 10 should be the same. Less than 3, Rishus HaRabim. Over 10 and up, we have to start dealing with Rishus HaYachid. Between 3 and 10, really, we would have expected to see in the Mechaber, between 3 and 10, well, it's not Rishus HaRabim, it's not Rishus HaYachid. What is it? If it's Dalet al Dalet, it's a Carmelis. If it's less than Dalet al Dalet, it's a Mokum Ptur. Turns out, there's a carve-out. What exactly is the carve out? Machlokes Rambam and the Rosh. According to Rambam, the carve out is exactly 9. According to the Rosh, the carve out is from 9 to 10. What's pshat in the carve out? Pshat in the carve out is that either 9 or 9 to 10 is useful to the Rabbim Mekatvim Alav, and therefore, if indeed the fact is that Rabbim Mekatvim Alav, if you go out in the street and you see that Taka people do use this surface to adjust their loads, then it's bottled to the Rishus Rabbim, even though it's over 3. It's bottled to the Rishus Rabbim, and it is a Rishus Rabbim. So that was category number 3. Now let's keep on going in the Mechaber to the end of the Sif, and let's see category number 4. Category number 4 is 10 and up. We covered less than 3. We covered from 3 to 9. We covered 9, maybe 9 to 10. Now we have to cover 10. What happens if you have something in the Rishus Rabbim and it's 10 tfachim tall? Says the Mechaber, ume'asaro l'mayla. Once you're going over 10 tfachim, depends. Imhu rachav arba. Okay, it's over 10 tfachim, you're in Rishus Hayachid territory. But in order for a mokum to be a mokum chashuv, in order for a mokum to have a din of a Rishus, it has to have that minimum lateral measurement of dalet al dalet. So, okay, you're over 10 tfachim and you're in Rishus Hayachid territory. Let's see what the lateral measurements are. Me'asar l'mayla, imu rachav arba, if it's dalet al dalet, have Rishus Hayachid. So then it's the Rishus Hayachid. V'im lav, if it's less than dalet al dalet, approximately 14 by 14, if it's inches, if it's less than that, have a makom p'tur. Even though it's over 10 tfachim, it's just not big enough to be a makom chashuv, therefore it's a makom tor. Afilu yesh by makom k'dei lachuk la'shlima la'arba. Let's cast that phrase aside for the moment. We'll get to it shortly. Let's read the Mishnah Berurah and recap what we just saw. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Katan Lamed Aleph. This is going on category number 3, which is either exactly 9 tfachim according to the Rambam or 9 to 10 according to the Rosh. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Katan Lamed Aleph, Tisha tvachim. What's pshat in this carve out of 9 tvachim? Explains the Mishnah Berurah, the Bashir Zeh, this measurement, derech b'nei adam b'rishus harabim lekatef alav. It is the derech of people walking in the rishus harabim to use it to readjust their loads. De'ena loy gavaya, it's not too tall, v'loy namuch, and it's not too short. Think about it. 9 tvachim is somewhere around 32 to 35 inches. So it's a little under 3 feet. That sounds, Taka, like a very good height to use to rest something on and to readjust it. Less than that, it's too short. People aren't going to use it. Taller than that, too tall. People aren't going to use it. Avo b'pachas v'tisha she'ena roy l'katif alav, loy mahani l'shavye rishus harabim, afilu im rabim m'katvan olav. He brings this down from the Rashba. Says the Mishnah Berurah, if you'll go outside to the street and you'll see that there is a 5 tefach platform in rishus harabim, and you'll see that Rabbi Mekatvam Alav, people use it all the time to adjust their loads, so you'll come to the Rav, and you'll tell the Rav, I know we just learned in the Dirshu Shir that the din of Rabbi Mekatvam Alav, this carve-out, only pertains to 9 Tfachim, or 9 to 10 Tfachim, according to the Rosh. Look, we have to change the Mishnah Berurah, we have to change the Mechaber, because I went out to Rishus Harabim and there's a 5 tefach tall platform in the Rishus Harabim, and I saw 20 people use it to adjust their loads. No, doesn't work that way. Chazal said 9 tvachim, or 9 to 10, but not less, not more. Says the Mishnah Berurah Lamed Beis, according to the Rambam, this means Tisha Tvachim Mitzumtzamim. It means exactly 9 Tvachim. Aval Yosim and Tisha Lo have a Rishus Harabim. Once it's over 9, no, that carve out no longer applies. So according to the Rambam, who says that this halacha applies to exactly 9, it comes out like this. From 3 to a drop less than 9, all right, it's not Rishus Harabim, it's not Rishus Hayachid. If it's Dalet al Dalet, it's a Karmelis. If it's less than Dalet al Dalet, it's a Makom P'tur. Exactly 9, if it's exactly 9, is it Rabbi Mekatvam Alav? If it's Rabbi Mekatvam Alav, it's a Rishus Harabim. If it's not Rabbi Mekatvam Alav, Well, then it's just like anything else that's 3 to 10. If it's Dalet al Dalet, it's a Karmelis. If it's not Dalet al Dalet, it's a Makom Ptur. How about if it's 9.5? If it's 9.5, it's like 6. If it's 9.5, it's Nafka Meklal Rishus Harabim. It's not Rishus HaYachid. Rabbi Mekatfim Alav? No, it's too tall. It's 9.5 Tvachim. According to the Rambam, that's too tall. So what's the halacha? You know. If it's Dalet al Dalet, it's Karmelis. If it's not Dalet al Dalet, it's a Makom Ptur. That would be the halacha according to the Rambam. Says the Mishnah Berurah weiter. Oiskat Lam Gimel. V'Rabbi Mekatvim Alav, Aval Kishe'ein Mekatvim Alav. If the fact is that people do not use this 9 tefach surface to readjust their loads, Afagav the royal Mekativ Alav, even though it makes it fits the bill according to Chazal, it's 9 tefachim tall. We should tell everybody, hey, you should use that to be Mekativ Alav. Chazal say it's the perfect height, but Lamaisa they don't. If they don't use it, loy heavy rishus harabim, then it's not a rishus harabim. Va'afilu rochav arba, even if it's Dalet al Dalet. Yeah, you know what? If it's Dalet al Dalet, it's a Karmelis, but it's not a rishus harabim. Ois katan lamid dalid, it's a rishus harabim. Afilu ein a rochav arba. It doesn't need to be Dalet al Dalet to be a rishus harabim. Even though generally we say if an area doesn't have the lateral measurements of Dalet al Dalet, we don't give it the status of a rishus. It's too small. But over here, where we have a surface that the Rabbim actively uses, even though it's less than Dalet al Dalet, it is a rishus harabim. The sheet of the Rush. The Rush applies this carve out on any surface that's from 9 to a drop less than 10. Has this carve out that if it's Rabbi Mekatvim Alav, it's Rishus Harabim. Hudas HaTor, he quotes this from the Torah. The Svirale, the Hadar Mina Begamara, Amutisha, who barak lafuke pachas bitisha le'ever Rishus Harabim, Aval Yosef bitisha inachidabi davi Rishus Harabim kisharab Mekatvim Alav. What the Mishnah Berurah just said, I know I sped through it. Mishnah Berurah just is pointing out the reason the Torah says this, B'Shem his father, the Rush, I believe, the reason they hold that this carve out applies from 9 to 10, not exactly 9 like the Rambam, is because this carve out is based on a Gemara. And the Gemara says Tisha Tvachim. That's what the Gemara says. The Gemara says 9. That's why the Rambam says the halakha applies to 9, because that's what the Gemara says. The Gemara says 9. The Torah felt that when the Gemara said 9, the Gemara didn't mean exactly 9. The Gemara meant that there's one halacha from 3 to 9, but once you get to 9, there's a different halacha. And that halacha pertains from 9 to 10. Once you hit 10, you're in Rishus HaYachid territory. Okay. Ois Kat Lamed Vav. How do we paskin in this machlokes the Rambam and the Torah / the Rush? Heavy Rishus Harabim uladina naktina kisfara rishayna lamaisa the Mishnah Berurah is machriya that we paskin like the Shitas Rambam that this carve out pertains only to 9. The harbe paiskin cholken alzeh because many paiskim disagree with this Shitas Harush. So if we pause here for a second, so we had over here category number 1, less than 3 tvachim, bottle to the Rishus Harabim. Why? Because the Rishus Harabim walks on it. Even if it's kaitzim and tzaya, it's less than 3 tvachim, bottle to the Rishus Harabim. Over 3 tvachim, it can't be considered part of the Rishus Harabim anymore. Why? Because the Rishus Harabim doesn't use it. They don't use it. They don't use it. It's nafka miklal Rishus Harabim. It's no longer Rishus Harabim. So what is it? Well, it depends. If it's a Malkum Chashiv, it's Dalet al Dalet, so then it's a Rishus Rabbanan, it's a Karmelis. If it's not a Malkum Chashiv, it's not Dalet al Dalet, it's a Malkum Ptur. But this halacha pertains how tall? Over 3 tvachim, really it should go from 3 all the way to 10, until we get to Rishus HaYachid territory. There's a carve-out of 9. According to the Rambam, the carve-out pertains only to exactly 9. According to the Torah / Rush, it applies from 9 to 10. What's the carve-out? Now you have a surface that's usable and convenient for the Rabbim. What would the Rabbim do with it? Rabbim mekatvim alav. So now the Rabbim uses it. The Rabbim uses it. It's not nafka meklal Rishus Harabim. So now it's considered part of the Rishus Harabim, even if it's not Daled al Daled. It's still part of the Rishus Harabim. Okay, now we have to go to category number 4, which is Rishus HaYachid territory. The Mechaber said, once you get over 10, so now it depends. Is it a Makom Chashiv? Is it Daled al Daled? Well, if it's a Makom Chashiv and it's over 10, so it's over 10 and it's Daled al Daled, Rishus HaYachid. If it's less than Daled al Daled, true, you're over 10, but you're not a Makom Chashiv. You're less than Daled al Daled, it's a Makom P'tur. Says the Mishnah Berurah Katan Lamed Zayin, if you're over 10, Imhu Rachav Arba'a, Hainu Arba'a al Arba'a, that means Tvachim, Arba'a al Arba'a is Tvachim, Arba al Arba is Amos. Ois Katan Lamed Ches. Now before we do Ois Katan Lamed Ches, let's just go back into the words of the Mechaber and read the last phrase of Ois Katan Yud. The Mechaber said, in order for something to be considered a Rishus HaYachid, you have an elevated surface in the Rishus Harabim. When does it become a Rishus HaYachid? If it is 10 Tfachim high and it's Daled al Daled. So let me give you a very simple, I don't think I need to make a diagram for this. This is too simple for a diagram. I think we could just use props. You have a wall in the Rishus Harabim. And on the wall, there's a ledge. Okay, so now you want to know, could I put my hat down on the ledge? I'm walking in Rishus Harabim. Can I take off my hat and put it on the ledge? And if it's on the ledge, can I take it off the ledge? If it blew off my head and it landed on the ledge, can I take it off the ledge? Well, let's see. Let's do the math. Okay, it's an elevated surface in the Rishus Harabim. How tall is it? Oh, I'll measure. It's more than 10 Tfachim off the ground. Ooh, it's more than 10 Tfachim off the ground. You're in Rishus HaYachid territory. What's the next thing we have to know? The lateral measurements of the surface. Is it Daled al Daled? If it's Daled al Daled, it's a Makom Chashiv. Ooh, you're over 10 Tfachim and you're Daled al Daled, Rishus HaYachid. Can't put your hat on it. You're standing in the Rishus Harabim. You take off your hat, you put your hat on that surface, it's a Daraisa. You just took something from the Rishus Harabim, transferred it to Rishus HaYachid. It's a Daraisa. You're not allowed to do that. Now, let's change the case. Let's say it's not 10 Tfachim. Let's say it's something narrow. Let's say it's something small. Okay? When you learn Chelik Daled, you have to have magnetiles, Rabbi say. Let's say it's smaller, and it's not Daled Tfachim. Let's say it's 3 Tfachim. It only juts out of the wall 3 Tfachim. So now you're going to look at it, and you're going to say, well, it's over 10 Tfachim, true, Rishus HaYachid territory, but it's not Daled al Daled. Since it's not Daled al Daled, what is it? It's a Makom P'tur. Oh, okay. So it's a Makom P'tur, so I can put my hat on it. Okay, that's true. Right now, you are absolutely right. Right now, it's a Makom P'tur. But there's an interesting halacha that comes into play in different places in halacha. One place it comes into play, and I think this is kind of the classic example, is in the halachas of mezuzah. In order for a doorway to be chayiv in mezuzah, you need a height of 10 tfachim on both sides. Let's say you don't have a height of 10 tfachim. Let's say you only have a height of 7 tfachim. And at the top, you have an arch. Okay? I know this isn't coming out much like an arch. Let's make an arch. You know what? Okay, this is Chelik Daled, and apparently there's an unwritten rule that in Chelik Daled, you have to draw. And if you're in Rabbi Weiss's share, that means that Rabbi Weiss is going to forget to draw before the share, and he's quickly going to draw during the share. Sorry, Rabbi Isai. Guess you'll just have to get used to it. Let's say you have like this. You have a doorway. You can't see what I'm doing, but I'm drawing a very artistic doorway, which is not true because I failed arts and crafts. Okie dokie. Yeah, you'll see I failed arts and crafts. We'll make a keystone in my arch. Okay. Here I have a doorway. Okay? On the side post over here, I only have a height of 7 tfachim until I get to the arch. Then the arch swings up and over. But here on the doorpost, I only have a height of 7 tfachim. Now, if I would take away this area that I'm going to shade in now, the upper corner here, okay? If this was empty, then this post on the side is 10 tfachim. In other words, from the bottom all the way up, from the bottom here all the way up to the top is 10 tfachim. But I don't have an open doorway of 10 tfachim because this shaded area is filled in. This is an archway. And over here I only have 7 tfachim. But there's a very interesting halacha, which is choykikin lahashlim. In this case, you would be chayiv in mezuzah. Why? Because we say choykikin lahashlim, which literally means we engrave or cut out this area and we're mashlim the 7 tfachim to make it 10 tfachim. Imaginarily, halachically, we imagine that this is all cut out and carved out, and therefore this height is 10 tfachim. That's the halacha of choykikin lahashlim. Now, what does that have to do with us? I'll show you what that has to do with us. Mishnah Berurah is telling you, I just told you that when you have a ledge in Rishos Harabim, you have to do the math on the ledge, right? So I'm making a wall with a ledge. Okay, here we have a wall with a ledge sticking out. So I said, let's say that ledge is only 3 tfachim. If that ledge is 3 tfachim, right, it's 10 tfachim off the ground, but it's only 3 tfachim. So what is it? It's a makom tor, because it's not a makom chashuv, it's not dalet al dalet. You might think, wait a second, maybe I should say choykikin lahashlim. What would choykikin lahashlim do? It would tell us that if there's another tefach in the thickness of the wall, maybe halachically, imaginarily, maybe we're choykik, maybe we imagine that this was cut out, and that would be the 4th tefach. And then we're going to consider this to be dalet al dalet, and then it's a rishus hayachid. Says the Mechaber, no. Let's read it inside, the last phrase of Sif Yud. Afilu im yesh by makom kedei lachoik lashlim ila arba. Even if the thickness of the wall does give you another tefach, so technically you could say choykikin lahashlim. We do not say choykikin lahashlim. Says the Mishnah Berurah, ois kated lamed ches kedei lachoik hainu kigon shayaha amid samach lekaisel mamish. Let's say you had a pillar or a surface right up against the wall. We do not say that it is as if you dig out the wall and you could make up the dalet al dalet by the thickness of the wall. Okay, weiter, Sif Yud Aleph, says the Mechaber. Guma b'rishos harabim. So, Sif Yud, we dealt with raised items in the Rishos Harabim. Now we're going the other way. You have a hole in Rishos Harabim. Guma b'Rishos Harabim, you have a pit. You have a hole in Rishos Harabim. Okay, we're really going to apply just about the same rules. Im eina amuka shalosh, if the hole is not 3 tfachim deep. Well, if the hole is not 3 tfachim deep, people keep walking by. They walk into the hole, they walk out of the hole. Im eina amuka shalosh, have a Rishos Harabim. It's just part and parcel of the Rishos Harabim. Says the Mishnah Berurah cut lamites. Eina muka shalosh avagav de rechava kamatfachim. I don't care how big and how wide it is. It's part of the Rishos Harabim because the Rabbim will just walk right through it. Okay, let's go weiter in the Mechaber. Mishalosh ad asara. Let's say it is more than 3 tfachim deep. Oh, once it's more than 3 tfachim deep, it's nafka meklal Rishos Harabim. The same way an elevation of more than 3 tfachim tall is no longer considered Rishos Harabim because the olam doesn't walk on it. A hole that's more than 3 tfachim deep is also nafka meklal Rishos Harabim because people aren't going to just step into it and step out of it. So once it's 3 tfachim deep, it's nafka meklal Rishos Harabim. Okay, now from there until 10 is the same halacha. Why? Because the same way above ground, 3 is nafka maklal rishus harabim. 10, you're in rishus hayachid territory. So too below ground. Once you go down 3 tfachim, nafka maklal rishus harabim. It can no longer be rishus harabim. Rishus hayachid territory going down doesn't start until 10 tfachim down. So 3 to 10, you're in the same place. You're in the same category. Now over here, there's no carve out for 9. You know why? Very simple. Because above ground there's a carve out for 9, because the 9 tefach platform becomes useful to the Bnei Rishus Harabim l'katef alav. A platform 9 tefachim deep is not useful to the Bnei Rishus Harabim l'katef alav. So there's no carve out of 9. So says the Mechaber, mishalosh ad asara, from 3 tefachim, where you're now nafka maklal rishus harabim, until 10, where you're going to get to rishus hayachid territory. So we know what to do. It depends. If it's a makom chashuv, im rechava arba, if it's dalet al dalet, have a carmelis. V'im lav, if it's not a makom chashuv, because it's not dalet al dalet, have a makom tur. It's a makom tur. V'im hi amuka asara, if it's 10 tfachim tall, the deep, if it's 10 tfachim deep, now you're in rishus hayachid territory. Have a rishus hayachid. V'hu shetehei rechava arba. But it's only going to be a Rishus HaYachid if at the bottom of the hole it's 4x4. Then it's a Makom Chashuv. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Mem ad Asara. Va'afilo ha'yirabim mishtamshim boi baguma. Now, even if you'll tell me, maybe the oilam in the Rishus HaRabim uses the hole. Maybe they stick something in there for protection. They have to put something down. They're going to come back for it later. Maybe the Rabbim uses it. Says the Mishnah Berurah, no. Hahi tashmish ha'yidat chaku v'loish bei tashmish. That is not considered being used by the Bnei Rishus Harabim. Ois kat mem aleph amuka asara, if the hole is 10 tefachim deep. Now we have an interesting Mishnah Berurah here. Here's the issue. When a hole is 10 tefachim deep and it's 4x4, we're calling it a Rishus HaYachid. What if there's a hole that's 10 tefachim deep and it's 4x4, but you filled up the hole with something? What did you fill it up with? Potatoes. You had potatoes that you had to store somewhere. There was this very convenient pit in the Rishus Harabim, so you put 50 pounds of potatoes into the pit. So now you have a pit that's 10 tefachim deep, 4x4. It's a Rishus HaYachid, but you filled it up with potatoes. Is it still a Rishus HaYachid, or is it now considered filled in? Let's change the case a little. Let's say there's a 10 tefachim deep hole that's 4x4, and for the last 2 weeks it was pouring. So now it's full of water. What's the din? Do we say that it's filled in, and since it's filled in, it's no longer a Rishus HaYachid? Or no, it's a Rishus HaYachid, just it's a Rishus HaYachid that has water in it. Let's take a look at this Mishnah Berurah. Even if this pit is full of water, I don't know what a good example of this would be, but the Mishnah Berurah says if the pit is full of water, when the pit is full of water, you could look in the pit and you could see that it's a 10 tefach 4x4 pit, just it's full with water. Says the Mishnah Berurah, anything that's like that, if the pit is filled with anything, where you could look and the mechitzos are nikaros, you recognize that there are walls there, you recognize that there's a deep pit, that there's a 10 tefach deep pit, 4x4, then it retains its status of Rishus HaYachid. Aval in Malaya Peros, but if it's full with potatoes, so now you can't see the walls, you can't see the bottom. Lo yever Rishus HaYachid, it's no longer considered a Rishus HaYachid, it's considered filled in, kevid de'ena mechitzos nikaros, because the walls are not recognizable. And says the Mishnah Berurah, this is true afilu daitoi lefanoisan. Even if you put in the 50 pounds of potatoes and you intend on taking them out, so the hole is going to remain. Doesn't matter. The mechitzos are not nikaros. It's not considered a hole anymore. It's considered filled in. And therefore, if somebody threw something into it from Rishus Harabim, he would be potter. Now notice the word potter, not mutter. It would be an Issa D'Rabbanan, since theoretically the potatoes can be removed on Shabbos. The Rashba is more makel. The Rashba says the only thing that would be mevatel the mechitzos are something that are muktzah on Shabbos that you pasha can't move on Shabbos. If you can't move it on Shabbos, it's mevatel the mechitzos. He's machmer, I guess. And now that would be mevatel it from being a rishus hayachid. I want to go a little bit weiter. Let's do Sif Yud Beis. Says the Mechaber 3 lines off the bottom, Rishus Harabim Eina Tefeses Ela Ad Asara. We have learned that the airspace of Rishus HaYachid remains Rishus HaYachid Ad L'Rakia. No matter how high you go, it's still Rishus HaYachid. Not so by Rishus Harabim. Rishus Harabim Eina Tefeses Ela Ad Asara. Rishus Harabim only goes to 10 tfachim off the ground. Aval Lamayla May Asara have a Makom P'tur, but above 10 tfachim, you are located in a Makom P'tur. Now we have to be very careful not to misapply this halacha. Most people are over 10 tfachim tall. So a person's going to say, oh, I could hold something while I walk in Rishus Harabim. I'll hold it over 10 tfachim, so I'll hold it more than 40 inches in the air, and I'll walk as much as I want. What's the problem? I'm not transporting something in Rishus Harabim. I'm transporting it in a Makom P'tur. No, that's not true, because your feet are on the ground in the Rishus Harabim. Whatever you're holding is in the Rishus Harabim. So what is the ramification, or what is the manifestation of this halacha that over 10 tfachim is not considered a Rishus Harabim? So I'll give you one case. One case is you have two houses across from each other. Inside the house is obviously the Rishus HaYachid. I'm in one house, my friend is in the other house. We're on the third floor of an apartment building, so we're definitely over 10 tfachim. I could take something from my house, open the window, throw it from my house over into his house, and I never went through a Rishus Harabim. I went from a Rishus HaYachid through a Makom P'tur into another Rishus HaYachid. That's one manifestation. Now we'll see another one in the Mishnah Berurah. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Ois Katan Mem Gimel. Ela Adasar, Valkain. Therefore, Hazarik Rishus Harabim Devela Shmena. If you would take a gooky, sticky fig, and you're standing in Rishus Harabim, and you're holding a fig. So you're holding a fig in Rishus Harabim, and you throw it. So you made an akira in Rishus Harabim. You uprooted something, the fig, from Rishus Harabim, and you threw it. And it went up over 10 tfachim, and it stuck to the wall in Rishus Harabim. Did you make a hanacha in Rishus Harabim? No, because it landed on the wall over 10 tfachim. So the hanacha is in a Makom P'tur. Says the Mishnah Berurah, V'alkein azarik Rishus Harabim tvei l'shmeina v'nidbak b'kaisa lamata me'asara chayiv l'mayla me'asara potter. Iskad mem daled over 10 tfachim have a Makom P'tur. Ritzayna loymar dafilu shem kamelus ein chal al ha'avir shalamala me'asara. Don't think that the Chachamim made the airspace over 10 tfachim a kamelus. No, it's a Makom P'tur. Amnam, however, im not kana b'Rishus Harabim, if you stick a pole into the ground in Rishus Harabim. Uberoishay kli shegavaya asar tfachim v'rachav arba, and on top of the pole, okay, I'm trying to think of something that is that way, but it's not coming to my mind right away. But this is very simple. You have a pole stuck in the ground in Rishus Harabim. At the top of the pole, there's a platform that is dalet tfachim al dalet tfachim, and then it has walls. So it's like a box sitting on top of a pole. And the walls are 10 tfachim tall. So you've got this keli that's on top of a pole. And the keli is 10 tfachim tall, dalet al dalet. So the interior is a Rishus HaYachid. It's on top of a pole that's located in the Rishus Harabim. And this whole structure is above 10 tfachim. Says the Mishnah Berurah, if not kana b'Rishus Harabim, v'roishe kli shegavaya asar tfachim v'rachav arba, af agav shetachtei Rishus Harabim, even though this is planted in the Rishus Harabim, underneath it is a Rishus Harabim, which grad is a shvera sugya. Why exactly underneath it is a Rishus Harabim? If it's roofed over, we're not getting into that. Mikamakim akeli hu Rishus HaYachid. Chiddush that the Mishnah Berurah is saying is, it's true that this keli is located up in a Makom P'tur, over 10 tfachim in Rishus Harabim, and under it is a Rishus Harabim, but in the middle of the airspace over here is a Rishus HaYachid, and the interior of it is taka going to be a Rishus HaYachid. Okay, we're going to break over here. Continue next time with Sif Yud Gimel. Thank you so much for joining me for Limud HaTorah. The schus of Limud HaTorah should be Megan against Klai Yisrael, the Baruch Shem should send Yeshua Sefuas Parnaset Sheduchim Tolo Zanid. We should be zeicher to see the Biaskel Tzedek B'meherav Yameinu Amen. Be well.